All right, well, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin.
I'm Tarsha.
And this is, of course, Conversations with the Crawleys, where we have conversations about faith, family, relationships, and recaps and commentary on some of our favorite shows. This one is dedicated, of course, to Married at First Sight, Season 13, Houston edition, and we are near the end, y'all.
Yes.
So listen, if this is content that you enjoy, definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, request notifications, and
share.
And we will definitely see you in the comments. All right. So if you've been around this show, you know we break it down couple by couple. We're going to kind of talk about that.
Do we have any shout outs?
I forgot it. Shout out to all of y'all.
Hey, I want to say thank you to everyone that wished me a happy birthday on the KT squad. I really appreciate you celebrating me today. Mm-hmm. So thanks.
Yeah, so happy birthday to my amazing wife, who is still beautiful and young and everything. All right.
I sure am.
Mm-hmm. All right. So anyway, not anyway, like I'm dismissing it before y'all meet me in the comments. And
he always says anyway.
Anyway is one of my
crunch words.
My crunch words, yes. All right. So anyway, like I did that. All right. Let's just kind of dig into, we're going to give our predictions at the end. Mm-hmm. Not really a lot of surprises, I don't think, but we'll see.
Well, they don't even know. Me don't know. They're all over the place.
They know. They're just making good TV.
They're making good TV.
Producers are like, just throw some emotions,
cry one more time for the cameras.
They know. All right, so Ryan and Brett.
I got choked up.
Yeah. So they start off the episode. They start off with him playing tennis, was it, with one of his friends. And his friend, you know, they're going back and forth as far as how the relationship's going, what have you. His friend tells him, hey, you're not the best communicator.
You're not. He's awful.
Yeah.
I think he's the worst person I've never seen.
He is. So I forgot the guy's name that said that he felt repulsed by the girl that he kissed. He's like, he kissed her and he felt repulsed. Y'all remember a few seasons back.
Oh, there was that. Yeah. And he turned out to be a homosexual.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So he was a poor communicator just because he didn't know what he wanted, right? Mm-hmm. Ryan is just a poor communicator just because him and Zach are probably the worst two communicators that I've seen on this in a while. He's bad. Ryan is bad because he does not communicate, period.
And when he does communicate, he's all over the place.
Right.
And no one's calling him out. This would have been a good time for Brad to say, you know, all my frustration with you is around this.
Yeah.
Are you trying to apologize? I need to know, are you trying to apologize? Because you're saying all this stuff that I'm supposed to think it's ending up as an apology. Mm-hmm. And then you walk out like, I'm glad you don't hate me.
Yeah. Because at the end, he does kind of come and tries to say, or at least tries to make it seem like he's going to apologize for the fact that he re-downloaded the dating app a week before decision day.
That's what he told the producer. I'm here to apologize. I really got all my stuff a week ago. Yeah. So he makes an excuse to come over.
Right.
Instead of saying, hey, I really need to talk to you. We ended on a bad note. I don't want it to end that way.
Right.
And then he comes in and can't apologize.
Yeah. So
I'm annoyed.
I see. Yeah. Because he makes statements like he hates feeling like he's the reason it's not working. Dude, you are the reason it's not working.
You are the reason.
You are the biggest loser, right? It's basically he is the
whole weight of being married is gone. The whole weight of it is just gone in 8 weeks. It's off. Oh my God.
She's not completely faultless in this, but you could at least say where she was making the effort. He, on the other hand, it's like as soon as they got back from the honeymoon, he was like, I'm not feeling it. It was like all of East Texas, which he's dated, must have started calling him, or he must have remembered that there wasn't East Texas, because he just completely just was not working with her, not trying to make the effort at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel for her, but to me, you need to get that out. You shouldn't hold that in. You shouldn't take on that. Even when she was talking, was it her sister or a friend who
I
called
can't
her?
remember.
I think it was her sister who called her while she was at the apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And she was talking more like about him,
Mm-hmm.
but her sister had to remind her, if that's who she was talking to, no, you didn't get what you needed.
Right.
You did not get what you, and she's like, yeah, I didn't get what I need.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the first person you should have thought about.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting what I'm needing. Granted, at this point, it's not about you.
Right.
You're not even providing one or two things that I need.
Right.
You're not even trying to provide one or two things I need. And I feel like when you're in a relationship and it's closing, the more you can be honest and not hold on to it and say, let me tell you everything I feel now that we're meeting.
Leave it all on the table.
Leave it all on the table. Throw up on him. Just, blah. You did this. You didn't do this.
I don't think she has the capability to do that. I don't think she does not appear to she appears to avoid conflict and so therefore as a result of that, the opportunities that she's had throughout these 8 weeks to call him on his stuff, she doesn't do it. She hasn't done it. So maybe with the help of, or at least with the experts on decision day, maybe she'll call him out on his garbage, but she wants to avoid. She seems like she avoids conflict. That's how she may have lived. So
that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, and I wouldn't even call it conflict at this time. What are you you already gonna break up? He on a dating app, so it's not like it's not to me.
He's swiping left and right.
To me, it's not any more conflict. It's just me getting off my mind what I need to say to you.
So we'll see. Yeah. Prediction for them: they're done. Though they were done week 2.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So I think both of them will say no to moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if he says something different.
If he says something different, dude, just throw away the whole show. Just throw away the whole show.
Throw the show away.
The whole show away.
Even the experts look surprised, like, what has happened?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Mm-mm.
All right. And then Rachel and Jose. She meets with her friend and she talks about that she's concerned about his ability to listen, which that's a huge, huge red flag for Jose, right? And then
Jose?
As far as Jose is concerned, that's a huge red flag
for her.
concerning Jose.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a huge red flag just because of what we've seen. Because if what we've seen is any indication of how he is 24/7.
I don't know. There's a lot of people I feel like people don't listen to each other. So I think that's something you can learn from.
True.
If he's saying that he thought he was a good communicator. We always think we're a good communicator. We think we're a good listener. And a lot of times we're not. Even in marriage, when you're trying to talk and you're having this deep conversation, are we listening through our own perspective again? Right. That's why you have to learn different techniques to be a better listener and not through your own lens. Yeah.
So she also brings up the fact as far as like his verbal abuse, and that's the big red flag, really,
because you don't even hardly know me and you cussing me out
right
now. So how do you handle?
You've gotten past the whole polite for politeness sake.
Right.
You just went straight for the jugular.
Right. And my thing is this, and it was over something very minute. I think this is why it's over the top.
Right.
Because what it was over was a mistake. That you call one of your friends that you're in a very close bubble right now.
Right.
With. We don't know why she said that name, whatever. But not for you to cuss her out and lock her out.
It's not like we're seeing pictures of Rachel and Johnny after the show, right? Like we're seeing of Zach and Val, right? So it's not like there's this thing that may have come to the surface that maybe her and Johnny had this thing going on. No, they're in the circle. You're going to slip up and call, especially if it's a new relationship. You're going to slip up and maybe, because your mom calls you by your sister's name sometimes, right? I get called by my brother's name sometimes.
You were called by everybody but your name.
Yes.
But they were all in the family. I get it.
So the fact that they've been all hanging around together, all 5 couples have been around each other for, pretty much almost nonstop for these 8 weeks.
Right.
It's excusable, in my opinion, that she said the word Johnny instead of Jose.
Yeah.
So she does admit that maybe she's a little naive to think that it won't happen again. And yes, I would say it's very possible and very likely that he'll blow up over something else. That's a minor thing, right?
Right. And the question is that a deal breaker for her?
Right.
I would rather her look at it as, is this a deal breaker for me, or is this something that we're going to be able to recover from when you have a blowout and you're going to try to cuss me out like you just did?
Yeah.
Because I'm asking you already, don't do it.
Right.
There's no reason for you to cuss me out. And he told her to get out.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yes.
So he told her to get out while she was in between thinking about getting out. Then she's like, you know what? I think I am going to leave you.
So as she's talking with her friends, she kind of tells her friends about the cars too. And her friends like,
that's trash. It's like, oh God.
She's like, no, trash.
I feel like this an effort to me. If they're up, if you're gonna if you're gonna utilize them, then it's worth the effort. If that's the way you learn. Now, if you go back to the same habits, then either you're gonna remove the card or you're gonna use them.
Right.
So.
And then he meets with his friends, right? And this is one of my big issues with Johnny. Is that he has
Jose.
Yeah, him. And so again, Jose, if you want to come for me. Come for me. You don't want this smoke. Simply put, I called you Johnny. Sorry. All right. But Jose, this is my issue with Jose. All right. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My issue with Jose is that he has a big habit of not disclosing everything. He has a big habit of leaving out details that make him look bad. And telling his friends all these things. So he tells his friends, because his friends ask him, what are some reasons or things that you might cause you to say no? And he's like, her cheating. Well, again, you're missing out on the whole context of the fact that it happened one time, very early in her relationship, and that relationship continued on beyond that without any other.
For another 6 years.
Right, without any other issues, right?
Right.
And then he talks about communication on her part. And then talks about, he talks about the whole thing of how she slept over at her ex's house. Well, we have a whole video, actually, we'll have it linked in the description there, where we talk about, was she wrong for going to the ex's house? And we have a resounding opinion that no, she needed to get safe. She needed to be in a safe place.
I didn't feel like she did anything wrong. She knocked on other people's door.
She tried to get in her own door. She tried to get back into the apartment with him. Couldn't do that. Went to other apartments of people that, in the experiment. Then we don't know where, but somewhere along the line, she got a hold of her ex and slept over there. Nothing happened. But of course, Jose leaves all of that out to put Rachel looking like in a bad position. When, dude, you caused a lot of that.
Yeah, it had to happen.
Then they also have a conversation about, they kind of meet because this whole week, the couples are kind of spending time with their friends or their family to kind of gain perspective and thoughts as far as the approaching decision day. Right. But then they come back together and they have lunch. And once again, Jose, we know one of the big conflicts, which to me it's a conflict, but it's not a big conflict. But one of their big conflicts is the fact that she wants to travel. She wants to continue traveling. She was like, it doesn't have to be every year. Let's make it every other year.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, that's a good compromise. And she said, we'll make it a big trip. Like, so she had to explain, this is a 10-hour flight.
8-9-hour flight. Yeah, let's go somewhere.
This is Switzerland. This is going to Thailand.
Right.
I was like, oh, those are all nice places. I wouldn't mind going there. So, but she said, I understand. She said specifically, I understand it's a lot of money.
Right.
We can do it every other year.
Right.
And we can save up for it because I know that it'll take some money.
Right.
He was like, in San Antonio.
Yeah, he was like, we're going to San Antonio.
Vegas. And there's nothing wrong with that. She's like, I don't consider that a trip.
Right.
That's
a getaway.
Yeah, you could put it like a stay vacation or whatever. Right. And so he's like, well, we did that as a family. Okay. And your parents weren't well off, but aren't you well off? So I guess the question is like, aren't you doing a lot better? You got 2 homes, you got passive income coming in, and it's every other year.
Right.
So we should have more than enough where it's not stretching us financially.
Right.
And we're able to sock away, and I'm participating.
Exactly.
I don't know.
And I don't like the fact
that you're afraid to fly for 10 hours. That's a long flight being
It's a long flight, yes.
I get it.
I get that, right?
But my understanding, you can like lean all the way back depending on how much you pay.
Right. And it's so it's like, is it
Netflix down?
Can he leave the country? Is he, is
there I don't know.
I know he works mission flight. So he does something as
he's the coordinator for missions.
So I don't understand what the issue is. And then I also don't appreciate the fact that he kind of, it's like he demeans her because he's saying it's so over the top. Mm-hmm. Well, for her, she's like, look, I'm not saying that we do it every year and we've got to go ball out. But she's saying, look, every other year, let's take a nice trip where we actually go while we can. Not saying that, not that we have to go and do a 9-month tour of the world, right?
Right.
Let's just go 9-day, 10-day, whatever it may be. Go over here. Let's go visit while we can. Mm-hmm. Come back, and we still live. And then if you want to go to Galveston, if you want to go to East LA, if you want to go wherever you want to go, go there. Mm-hmm. Let's do, that's a little getaway. But I want a big trip. Mm-hmm. And then he also goes into some convoluted thing about social media and singles. He blames social media and singles for putting this idea in people's heads about traveling and stuff like that. So it was just like,
oh, and I don't know if he was trying to say that people try to imitate or feel like they have a lavish life online, because he's like, anybody indicates he was boring. He's like, I lived a boring lifestyle. Like, I leave work, come home, I might go to the gym. So I guess if he has to view what his life is compared to what he's seeing on Instagram and people and singles doing, he's finding like, oh, it's not all real, whatever.
Right.
But I'm like, don't judge people because they are living life while you're deciding not to. And I get it, making a sacrifice for a long time pleasure. You did it. So now you should be able to enjoy it. That's the whole point of you getting out of debt, being able to have another house so you can rent that out. Yep. So now take time to enjoy what you created.
Yep. And he still again does the whole cutting her off and not listening to her. So for them, one of the big things is going to be, will he actually listen to her? And will they take vacations? I think those are their two. They're two big challenges. Yeah. My prediction for them is that they are going to both stay together, but come back and check in about a year. Because I don't know. I think that
you don't get on the last pass.
I think that once the cameras are off and this representative that Jose keeps putting out, because Jose has a great representative in front of the cameras, but when the cameras aren't really on there in his face, we see him cussing her out, what have you. So I'm curious as to how it will be when the cameras are away, if he's still his polished self that he wants to present, or do we get to see, a side that Rachel is like not being naive about, in my opinion. Okay. So check back in a year on them. And then let's talk about Johnny and Bao.
I think she's staying very optimistic based off of her childhood. I get it. She's like, this ain't nothing compared to what my mom had to endure. And she endured more and got a good benefit out of it. Right. This is another thing where it's like, if I can endure this this little things that we're going through to be able to enjoy a longer, beautiful relationship at the end, then it sounds like that's what she's willing to do.
Yeah.
Johnny, it depends on if it's a full moon or a half a moon or a third of a moon.
Johnny is so
how
confused. He confuses himself about whether or not he's confused.
I'm confused about him being confused.
Now, Bao's friend did make a great statement, which I think is something that really kind of puts this whole thing into perspective. She said that every day is decision day.
It is. And I'm like, I have to agree with her. Every time.
Hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah. Every time you wake up, you make a decision. Am I going to stay married today? Am I going to decision to love this person today? Am I going to make the decision on me trying to be my best self for that person today? So she's right. I was like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Great statement. He meets with his friends and he acknowledges he's not really looking forward to decision day. His friends are basically, trying to figure out where did it go wrong. He says it started to go wrong or started to go south after the honeymoon.
Or even during. He's like during the honeymoon.
He started to see things during honeymoon and then afterwards.
That's a red flag.
And again, his thing, I think Johnny, as we've talked about on here, I think Johnny has always been looking for a way to self-sabotage the relationship. I think that's what he's been doing from the beginning. Well, not from the beginning, but from very early on. Even his friends are like, okay, are these things really deal breakers or just things that you're not happy with right now?
Yeah, and I like his friend because this is something that we had talked about before too, is that, and I think we mentioned it even in the last, I want to say episode, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, you do change because everybody's like, I'm changing. I'm not my same self. Yes, you're married and now you have new ideas coming and giving you a different perspective. And his friend says, you're saying you're changing. What if that's a good thing that you're supposed to be embracing? Right. But you're not embracing. You're running from. Yeah. And I was like, so I felt like they gave him a balanced answer. He's like, we're not trying to change your decision, but you need to really be thinking about it's only been 2 months.
Right.
So how are you able to make a clear decision? And why do you feel like you have to make a decision now?
Right. They were like, what's the rush to make a decision?
Right.
Granted, yes, there is the decision day as far as the producers. But if things, I think that, and we'll kind of talk about this, but a little later, the couples all are hanging out together. And there's this great conversation about, what no means at decision day, because there are different opinions about what no means at decision day. But then Johnny and Bao, they do have dinner, and Johnny, he sees Bao coming in looking all glittery, and he's like, hey, what your name is?
Like he's like, if my mouth could drop, my mouth would drop. So you're physically attracted to her. Right. Okay, move that. It's like, write your pros and cons. Physically attractive, beautiful woman. Okay, you don't like that she giggles like a little girl. Okay, that's one con. Is that a deal breaker?
Right.
Is that a deal breaker, really? Because she gets giddy like a little girl?
Right. So, yeah. All right, so predictions for Johnny and Bao.
I think Johnny would say yes, but the little person in him and then the big person in him might say no. I don't know. I hope Johnny has an answer for decision day.
That's a good question.
But I told you this before we even saw the trailer. I said, I think he'll have a heart attack.
Yeah, Johnny having a little heart attack, panic attack.
I think he's gonna pass out trying to decide. Like, I'm like, you've never made a major decision in your life. What's so funny for these people? They were able to make a risk and say yes for this whole long behind process to get selected. Right. But now you come to the end and this is the confusing part. Right. Because I'm like, even when you're in love, you have that conflicting. Should I be getting married? Should I not? I said yes to the proposal, but should I? What is this going to look like? Right. Everyone has those thoughts, but they're normally at the beginning when before you walk down the aisle.
Right. Well, in some respects, though, this is kind of like those questions before you walk down the aisle, because you just got to know this person. So you have the opportunity to have those feelings and those thoughts after you've dated for a while. And yes, you're taking your relationship to the next step. For these couples, they have just met for 8 weeks, and so now they're kind of getting to that phase. So,
I'll give you that.
We'll see. I think we know that long term, Johnny and Bao are not together.
Right.
I think we've seen that. As far as what will happen on decision day, I think that it will be a split decision. I think that the one will say yes, one will say no.
No.
That's kind of my feeling about it.
It'll be Johnny saying that.
Yeah.
Because he's going to stay true to whoever self shows up.
Right. Whichever side of his head shows up. All right. Then let's get into Mirla and Gil.
Yeah.
So first of all, Gil is definitely, in my opinion, auditioning for to be the next expert on Married at First Sight, because he gives amazing advice to every other couple. Now, Mirla does meet with one of her friends, and she does acknowledge to her friend that, yeah, I can be a handful, right?
Yep.
And did you all notice that her friend and her were matching?
Yeah, they both were wearing jean shirts. I was like, what?
Y'all know back in the day, you know, you'd have those friends that would kind of go out matching. They'd have matching short sets and whatnot, or you'd have boyfriend girl. They were matching. They had the same jean jacket and everything on. When they're talking about, though, their concerns, the big thing for them is finances.
Yeah.
Mirla getting paid, Gil not.
And I didn't know this until she brought it up, that he hadn't been a firefighter that long. Right. Like, he just became a firefighter.
Like he just came out of fire academy, right?
right before he came. And that means he's making minimum, starting pay.
Right.
And, you know, because a couple years you do gain your seniority, and you can move up in ranks or whatever and make more money. So I can understand how that could be an issue,
right,
and him not have a lot of savings.
But he, you know, I think the issue for her is she was coming into this thinking that whoever she would be matched with, they would at least be kind of set in their careers.
Right.
And so therefore
and
it's
further along.
Right. So therefore there's a little more equity between the two. And right now, from the conversations that we've seen, from the discussions that they've had, there's not a lot of equity between the two when it comes to the finances, right? She makes her money, but she spends her money, but she also saves her money.
And I think that's what she's saying about him having a drive and career. So she's saying he's starting here, but it doesn't seem like he cares if he goes for the next promotion.
Right.
Or he cares if he makes captain or anything. So she's like, he might stay at this level for a minute.
Right.
Am I going to be able to deal with that I'm going to be bringing in most of the money and he don't want me to live a certain lifestyle?
Yeah, because later on they have a conversation and he basically calls her the spoiled brat.
Right. And he indicates, like, and you be talking about people and being judgmental, if you don't remember that.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't like the fact you're talking down to people, you know, and you're acting a certain way. Because he's like, you're forgetting about your humble beginnings. Right. She's like, well, no, my humble beginnings is what gave me the drive.
That's what motivates her.
And that's what's motivating her. I think what he is trying to say is that it's changed you, because I think what he could have said was like, you know how you thought of yourself as that, you know, that little girl or the teenager that didn't have anything, or the young adult didn't have anything. And were people talking about you the way you talk about certain people now? Right. And so I think he needs to make her see if we're hearing right, because we're not with them all the time. True. And we know that maybe she's saying things thinking that she's now better than them. Right. And he's trying to say, boo, you were one of them. Right. So there's a way for you to now handle yourself without losing yourself and thinking you were never that person. Right.
But I get that, and I think there may be some validity to that, but I also think for him, again, it comes off, he's like he's trying to control her money, right? Because he makes a statement, you have to live in a mid-rise or high-rise. She's like, no, I don't have to. I want to. And my work, my lifestyle affords me the opportunity to do that, and give me, the opportunity to act upon my choices, basically what she's saying. And he's like, well, I don't need that. She didn't ask you what you needed.
Right.
She's telling you what she wants.
Right. And I think it could be another thing is that he wants to be the provider and he can't provide those things for her. And so I'm not going to come out right and tell you I can't provide those things to you, but maybe I'll say, well, we don't need to have those things since I can't provide it. We don't need to be there to be happy.
Right.
But I get what he's saying too. Like, enjoy the small moments and the cute gestures that cost me $5 and I got it from Walmart, than feeling like it had to be $500 from Tiffany's. Yeah. The love is still same, no matter how much the item was.
Yeah. So my predictions for Mirla and Gil are that they will continue forward. But again, with them, check back in a year.
I think they could stay married because she has conceded to some things, and I think he will need to soften up to some things. I'm thinking what could happen is that he could gain some more drive. Like, I want to step up more. There's some things I could do. And I feel like she could push him because he said he's been vulnerable. Yeah. And this is the first person he's felt vulnerable with. Right. So there's some opportunity there.
There is. I think the thing that I'm looking at is he does a lot of, this has kind of been his MO with her from the beginning, is that he does these passive aggressive jabs.
He does.
And so I don't know how long she may be for that.
I don't know.
So that's really my only thing that I say, check back in a year. I do think that they have grown. I'll be honest, and if you've watched our reviews, I was from the beginning.
Were like, no. And I'm like,
they've grown. Yeah, I'll admit I was wrong, right?
And we find out they really grown together than what we thought. So
they consummating stuff. They figuring stuff out. So all right, and then of course, our favorite couple. Michaela and Zach. Yeah. So she meets with her sister because after, you remember last episode,
they were holding hands.
They met with Dr. Pepper. They were holding hands, what have you. So she meets with her sister. We find out that Zach was like, "Hey, you want to go to lunch?"
Well, because she mentions
she's hungry,
and he takes the bait. You hungry? Okay, let's go out to eat.
And
sure.
They have a meal. So, you spending the night tonight?
Hey, I gave you a free meal. Come on. Why not? We're married.
So she tells her sister this, and her sister's like, well, that's your husband, which, yes. But if you look at where they have been saying about each other, right? Michaela, as of that last meeting, she was like, I'm done. I got the closure I needed.
Right. But again, they started finally talking like two human beings and giving each chance the opportunity to make sense of what they're trying to say or what Zach is trying to say. And I think we go back to the same thing. You overreact so quickly instead of saying, babe, what you're saying don't make sense. Can you go a little deeper, explain to me? Because you're so in the weeds right now. This is what I'm thinking you're saying, because this is what normal people think. But you think on a higher level to the point where now it doesn't make sense. You know how some people think. You know how people who think they think on some deep level high stuff and it makes no sense.
If you're saying high as in marijuana high,
Shut up.
Zach is speaking on that. Because Zach be having weed thoughts.
Don't be people who have cannabis, CBD, who are common people who are smart thinkers with what Zach is on.
Okay.
I don't know what he's on, but you know how people think they're high thinkers and they overthink and it makes no sense? That's who I'm getting at.
So Michaela's sister had probably the best description and understanding of them. She said that Zach is leading her on, talking about Michaela. Mm-hmm. He's leading himself on, mm-hmm. and he don't know what he wants.
Exactly.
And that's right there.
And that's his actually have a conversation with himself.
Yes, because
I don't think he should. That's his problem.
Y'all remember when Zach was talking about, I felt like I was sitting under a tree and there was these bees flying around and it was indicative of our relationship. And dude, Zach be having high thoughts.
That's what I'm saying.
Like
you talking
marijuana
about
high thoughts.
No, it's not marijuana. Maybe it's like that elusive drug. What's that other? What's the other drug?
But I don't know what other drug.
That makes you see stuff.
LSD?
Yeah, something like that. He wants some other strong stuff.
Angel dust or something.
He some of that stuff that make you see things that are not there. We're not
accusing Zach of being on drugs. We're not accusing. Before anybody try and email us and no, we're not accusing him of being on drugs. We're just saying that some of his comments, some of his thoughts
would be somebody.
Yeah.
That has something laced with something. Because we try to figure out, what are you saying? What are you saying?
Like he didn't slip an edible every now and then.
It's not an edible, I'm telling you. Leave them cannabis people alone. They're not.
All right, anyway.
They become more mellow. Oh, God.
So he meets with Gil. Zach meets with Gil. And I think Gil is the Zach whisperer. Gil is the... Because Gil at least can kind of make sense of what he's trying to get across. Mm-hmm. But he meets with and kind of lays everything out. He does say that Michaela owned up to her issues. And we even saw that recently in an Instagram post where she kind of owned up to the fact that she's evolving, she's changing, she's recognizing some things about herself. And she talked about that kind of with her sister, that she recognized that there were some things that she needed to adjust and change as well, right? And he said this, and I thought this is part of the issue as well, that Michaela's other exes did not hold her accountable.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You're not going to be throwing stuff around my house. You're not going to get explosive like that. And you just allow it to happen. Well, I understand why he's going to walk away, right? I'm not going to get in a physical altercation with you. You're a woman. And so I need my space. So you acting like this, when you tell me one thing, and then when I do what you tell me to do, then you want something else.
It sounds like Michaela needs one good, and I'm going to quote Nino Brown from New Jack City, sit your $5 behind down before I make change. That Michaela needs one of those every now and then. That's what it sounds like, right? So, just came to me. I'm sorry. Y'all, listen, I think in movies and music. God. All right. So, so Michaela, and that kind of explains also why she's had 2 long distance relationships. Because maybe the brothers was like, look, as long as we in the same city, hurricane kind of disruptive. So let me move to another city and see how that operates. Zach keeps saying that she is an amazing person. So again, I had high hopes for this couple.
Yeah.
We know that they're not together now, as of now. My predictions is that they will agree to go their separate ways on decision day. I think Zach, with the idea of maybe we can work on becoming a couple by not being a couple.
Yeah. Unless he's saying, I'd rather him say without production in the film, I want to stay married and work on it, but it'll work better after production than during production. But even Bao and everyone else is like, what? That don't make sense to me. Right. I don't understand where you're coming from with that.
Because when they all the couples do come together and play pool and hang out, kind of like a last get together before decision day, they kind of have this discussion of what no means at decision day.
Right.
And for a lot of the couples, it's like or a lot of the individuals, I should say, it's like no is kind of how we would interpret that no, we're not continuing on.
Right.
No, there's nothing for us to move forward with.
Right.
It's done.
Right.
For Zach, though, Zach is like the end is our new beginning.
Right.
It's kind of what he's putting it as.
Right.
We can say no, but we're going to be together.
Because technically, legally, we're still married.
But I don't want to be married to you, but we're going to be married and still try to work it out.
We're not going to be married on TV.
Because we're going to be married, but we're going to work it out as we break up. Got you.
That's too confusing.
So, again,
So,
High Thoughts by Zach. All right. So that's kind of it. That's our predictions. Let us know what you think. We'll probably have a poll out on which couples you think are going to go together, stay going forward, and breaking up. And then we'll see you definitely next week for Decision Day.
Mm-hmm. They should do Vegas. Vegas should do some odds.
Listen, do some prop bets. Listen, if it was in my, yeah. All right. But listen, that's it for this one. Definitely make sure you are hitting that subscribe button, like, request, notifications, and sharing. And we will again see you in the comments. Be blessed. Have a great one.
Bye.